How about that Aaron Jones pick last week, huh? Let's see if we can repeat, hit another home run. Here are my Week 6 NFL DFS picks. What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. Before I get into my picks in this video, I wanted to let you guys know about the Fantasy Couch Challenge. We partnered up with Monkey Knife Fight to bring you an awesome contest for Week 6 only. On top of the cash you can already win on MKF, you'll be able to win one of these amazing prizes if you finish top 5. First place will win an NFL jersey of your choice on NFLshop.com, as well as 100 MKF dollars. Second place will win a Couch Fam t-shirt, as well as 40 MKF dollars, so on, so forth. You have to enter this week though. All you got to do is follow the link below in the description. It's super simple, and we're going to enter right now just so you can see. All you got to do is pick 3 players to score the most fantasy points, and we'll have the leaderboards posted right here so you can see where you rank and which prizes you're winning. Let's enter right now. Make sure it says Fantasy Challenge over here, and all you got to do is pick 3 players. Let's go with Hopkins, Chubb, and let's go with Kelsey. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go with the tight end. Hit select, and then I like to pick the lower goal. You can pick a higher goal if you want to win more cash. And here's a tip to be able to have a higher chance of winning. I would enter several times, and you could enter for as low as $2. Just make sure you switch up your players, and you can play in the late games, the early games, and even Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football to increase your chances of winning. And let's submit that. To enter our Couch Fam exclusive contest, make sure you follow the link below in the description. When you deposit, use promo code COUCH. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $50. Again, head on over to the link in the description and use promo code COUCH when you deposit. Good luck. There are 4 teams in bye, and we have an early London game, so there's not too many players to pick from the main slate. Also, not too many contrarian or cheap quarterbacks that I like or that I have any real trust in, although I will name a couple if you guys do want to go with a cheap quarterback. So it looks like we're going to be in that mid to upper price range again for quarterbacks, probably for running backs as well. I do have some cheap plays at wide receiver, so let's see what we can do. We can definitely make a decent lineup. There are enough mid-range price players to where we can save a lot of money. It just won't be that sexy, like, oh, minimum price player that's going to blow up. Not too many of those. Starting off with quarterbacks, I'll probably fade Lamar Jackson, and I say this with being pretty reluctant because he's always got that upside to score rushing touchdowns and get rushing yards. I like Mark Andrews this week, but Hollywood Brown is questionable. If I had to guess, I would say he's not going to play. So if there's one quarterback that I'm going to fade, that's pretty much an obvious pick. It's going to be Lamar Jackson. I'll also probably fade Russell Wilson, and again, I'm being pretty reluctant, but there could be some wind, so just keep that in mind. Like, I like Russell Wilson, but if the winds are pretty strong, this could be a Nick Chubb, Chris Carson type of game where Russell Wilson doesn't need to do too much as far as throwing the ball down the field. He is having an MVP caliber season though. Keep that in mind as well. I guess I'm just covering my tracks in case he does have a good game, but we can't pick every quarterback, right? And so Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, I'd rather have those two. And Patrick Mahomes, I feel like isn't going to be as owned as he should be because the price is screaming it's too expensive, and also he's not having that great games as of late. He had 2 kind of bad games. Actually, he's been, I guess it's scoring 21 points against the Lions. I guess that's pretty bad for Mahomes, what we're used to. And scoring about the same 21 points against the Colts is pretty bad for what we've been used to. And just people are just more down on Mahomes. Not saying that he won't be picked at all or he'll be contrarian. Just saying that if he were to score maybe 30 or 40 fantasy points the last couple weeks, he would be twice as much owned as he would be now. At least that's what I'm projecting. And Kyler Murray and Matt Ryan, they're playing each other. That's Arizona playing Atlanta. Should be a high-scoring game. No defense at all. Falcons have the worst pass coverage, and Cardinals defense are just pretty bad at everything. Bottom 3 in just about every category. We saw Kyler Murray run the ball a lot more. So the first 2 games, he didn't have that many rushing stats. So only 13 yards rushing, then 4 yards rushing week 2. But the last few weeks, it's been 69 yards rushing week 3, 27 rushing yards week 4, and a whopping 93 rushing yards against the Bengals last week. Also scored 1 rushing touchdown each in the past 2 weeks. That's pretty promising. If he can get that 300 passing yard marker like he's been the first 2 weeks and get the rushing stats, the ceiling is the absolute highest. I said in a previous video, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyler Murray finished the QB1. Also, the floor is not that great, so I wouldn't be surprised if he finished like QB 9 or 10. And then we have Matt Ryan, who's not quite the rushing quarterback, not quite the mobile quarterback, but one that can put up 400 passing yards. And against the Cardinals, a fast-paced game, high-scoring game with no defense, he really can do it. Maybe 400 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, something like that. I like both Matt Ryan and Kyler Murray, and I know these guys are going to be owned, and I don't care. Now, I did promise you some cheaper quarterbacks, the ones that I don't really like, and that's Kirk Cousins, and a couple reasons why I like Kirk Cousins. One, he won't be owned in a lot of lineups. People won't be picking him because of what's going on with the Vikings. Kirk Cousins has just been awful. He's only really had 1 good game, and that was against the Giants. Every QB does well against the New York Giants, but now he's got the Eagles. This is how I see this game. This game could be low scoring, terrible game where the Eagles win by a field goal, and maybe Wentz sucks. Maybe everybody basically sucks except for the defenses. It could be like that. A messy game. No fantasy points really unless you start one of these defenses. Or it could be a shootout. So this is a highly volatile game. I see Kirk Cousins as a highly volatile quarterback. He's got 2 good weapons in Diggs and Thielen to throw to. But can we trust him? Absolutely not. Still, at 5,200, he's super cheap. Home game against the Eagles. Eagles pass coverage has not been good. Eagles defense has allowed a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks. And when you got Kirk Cousins, it's pretty easy to stack him. Sometimes you wonder, like with Matt Ryan, you wonder, should I pick Austin Hooper? Should I pick Sanu? With Deshaun Watson, should I pick Hopkins? Should I pick Fuller? With Kirk Cousins, it's much more simple. I would go with Diggs because he's not going to be owned. But Thielen's obviously the better choice. Or go with both. So it's pretty simple. Kirk Cousins, Diggs, Thielen, that's the stack. You may not want to have both, or if you have 3 lineups with Cousins, let's say, 1 stack with Diggs, 1 stack with Thielen, and 1 you got a double stack with both Vikings wide receivers. Case Keenum has been named the starter. Where are you at? 5,000 going against the Dolphins. Not really much analysis there. He's not a good quarterback, not on a good team. But after they fired this coach, a lot of reports have been coming out that, and they're a bit excited. And going into Miami, they're expected to win. This could be a shootout. I don't know what's going to happen. This is another volatile game right here. Also, Dolphins have their best chance of getting their first win. Nonetheless, you got Scary Terry, you got Paul Richardson, you got Trey Quinn. I'm sure they're going to get another wide receiver involved. You have Adrian Peterson. You have Chris Thompson. Let's see if they can score some touchdowns. Who's going to win this game? Which team can tank the best? I think the Dolphins are much better at tanking, so I think Washington will get the dub here. I just had to mention Nick Chubb because I think this game is going to be on the ground, especially if it's windy. There's going to be a lot of Nick Chubb and a lot of Chris Carson. I'd be shocked if at least one of those running backs didn't ball out. I think the winning formula for the Browns is to run the damn ball. Get Chubb some carries. Give him some targets. Look at this. It's just kind of obvious to see against the Niners, 16 attempts, 1 target. And when the team wins, look at this win against the Ravens, 20 attempts, 20 carries, and 4 targets. And man, they really need to give Chubb the ball a lot more. And so let's see what they do. Price at 7,300. I don't really think he will be contrarian, but we will see. And I definitely had to talk about David Johnson. I love him this game, but keep in mind he is questionable. So he was seen practicing Friday, so I would expect him to play. I'd say the chance of him playing and being a full go or pretty much close to 100% is very high. I do fully expect him to play. Obviously, if he doesn't, Chase Edmonds is going to be super duper chalk at only 4,600. Again, it's the Cardinals-Falcons game. And so, yeah, I would definitely be comfortable picking David Johnson in a GPP. He's going to be used as a receiver quite a bit. It's a shootout. Moving on, Mark Ingram, 6,600. Going to be a little bit chalky, and I'm going to eat that chalk right here. Ravens, Bengals, Hollywood Brown may not play. I don't expect Hollywood Brown to play. Mark Andrews is going to play, but this is a Mark Ingram game. Ravens should dominate this game against the Bengals at the trenches in just about every facet of the game. We've seen the Bengals play before. They're not that good. So 6,600, I think the floor is pretty good. The upside's pretty good. The price is not the best, but this is a guy I can trust. Let's see. That's really his floor right there. We've seen his floor against the Browns, 9.1 fantasy points. Against the Cardinals, who's been decent against running backs, 9.7 fantasy points. And that's his ceiling right here, around 30 fantasy points. And this game against the Chiefs, week 3, boosts our confidence a little bit in Mark Ingram. In a game that they lost, that they had to kind of play catch up, Mark Ingram, 103 rushing yards, 4 receptions, and 38.5 fantasy points. He scored 3 touchdowns, and we can see that again. How many points do the Bengals allow to running backs? Oh, they're ranked 31st right here on DraftKings. That's not good. Le'Veon Bell also will be a little bit chalky, and here's the thing. It's full PPR. We all play PPR nowadays. And that's why we like Le'Veon Bell. It's PPR. He gets a ton of targets. He's actually averaging 8 targets per game. Exactly 8. That's pretty insane for a running back. We all know he can catch the ball well. He's just a natural receiver. And with Darnold back, that also gives him a boost. He's been playing terrible. Not necessarily his fault. It's more of the team's fault. And still been putting up decent fantasy points just because it's PPR. And the price is right. So he's going to bring back value. It's full PPR. We expect him to get work in the run game, work in the pass game, and he's really the only running back they use. He plays 100% of snaps a lot of games. So let's see what will happen. Of course, they do use Ty Montgomery, so I did want to be accurate when I say that, but sometimes they are on the field at the same time as well. So Le'Veon Bell is still a true workhorse. A little bit slept on. Like I'm saying, a lot of people are talking about him just because the price is right, priced even cheaper than Mark Ingram, yet gets twice as many targets as Mark Ingram. Todd Gurley is questionable, so if he's out, you got Darrell Henderson as a super sleeper start, who Sean McVay says, oh, we'll get Darrell Henderson more involved regardless. Don't believe anything he says. He could be saying the truth. He could be lying too. He's lied before about running backs. Just keep that in mind. But if Todd Gurley is out, I do like Darrell Henderson as a sleeper cheap pick. And of course, Malcolm Brown would play that RB1 role, would be chalk, would be super cheap. Malcolm Brown's priced at 4,300. I didn't even look at Henderson. Slipped my mind. Henderson's minimum priced at 3,200. And I think Gurley's out. He will actually see some touches. He'll get some snaps. How much? I don't know, but I think it's still a good punt. But only if Gurley is out. If Gurley is playing, it's too risky for me. And we did talk about Chris Carson a little bit. His price is amazing. I'm sure he's going to be owned a lot. His price $6,000 going against the Browns. It's Chris Carson, just as simple as this. As long as he doesn't fumble, he's one of the best runners in the league, one of the best running backs for fantasy. This guy's just a beast, man. Seahawks team is really fun to watch. And what's the one? I got a gut feeling about this one. Damian Williams, top 10 running back this week. Can we do it, guys? Can we get this to go 5,700 going against the Texans? Texans are okay. Their defense is all right. They can stop running backs. So they're middle of the pack right here, 19th against running backs in fantasy. But here's why I like Damian Williams. This screen game is going to work. And I do expect Tyreek Hill to play. Saying right here on TV, game time decision versus the Texans. I do expect him to play. It's going to be tough to cover the deep ball for the Texans defense, as well as worry about that short screen pass to Damian Williams. I see some touchdowns. I see some big plays. I'm expecting about 21 to 22 fantasy points from Damian Williams, and that's going to bring back value. And with running backs like this that are mid-range price or cheap price is how we're going to be able to work the salary budget this week. And Matt Breida is priced at 5,100. Here's a guy who might be a little bit chalky. Who's not chalky, huh? I mean, when a guy stands out, I guess he could be chalky. It's okay. I have some contrarian picks coming up for you guys. Tevin Coleman priced at only 4,400, and I do love Matt Breida. So not to say like I don't like Matt Breida. Matt Breida is amazing. He could be a borderline elite running back in this offense, but I think Tevin Coleman is better. Kyle Shanahan trusts Tevin Coleman more. He's actually got more carries and hasn't been involved in the passing game week 5, but he can catch. He actually performed better than Breida if you watch the game, because Breida had that one long run. If not for that one long run where the Browns just sucked, and keep in mind Kyle Juszczyk was in that play. Kyle Juszczyk will be out for several weeks. He's an amazing fullback pro bowler who can do everything. He can catch, he can run, and most of all, he can block as a fullback. So I like Tevin Coleman more, yet he's priced cheaper. Now, if you want to be dumb and go with contrarian, go with Breida. He's priced more expensive. Less people are going to pick him. Tevin Coleman, though, man, 6.1 yards on the ground on average week 5. Scored a touchdown, 97 rushing yards, and got it only with 16 carries. He's going to be amazing. The price is absolutely berserk at 4,400 going against the Rams. This is another volatile game, but we like volatile games in GPPs. And we already went over Malcolm Brown and one more actually. In talking about handcuffs, Alvin Kamara was not spotted at today's practice. Today is Friday. Latavius Murray would get a huge boost. I actually do like Latavius if Alvin Kamara is out. Latavius is a decent running back. He's not elite. He's not amazing, but he can get you a couple catches. He can get some goal line carries. He can score. He can also break off a couple big runs. It is a downgrade from Kamara, that if Kamara is out, expect Latavius to see a huge workload, and at 3,700, he's going to be super, super duper chalk. At wide receiver, I really do believe Tyreek Hill could be the number 1 wide receiver this week, the top scoring wide receiver this week, and at the same time be a bit contrarian, because people think he's going to be a decoy. People are scared of the questionable tag. People entering the contest early don't know if he's playing or not, so we can project 1 or 2% less than that, because I know a lot of people enter super early and don't check. I mean, vast majority of people do, but some people enter early and don't check their lineups. That's also, I mean, it is what it is when you're in a big pool GPP, and the price is amazing. Tyreek Hill is the ideal player we want in GPP. How's his floor? It's 0. It's bad. But we don't care about floor. We only care about ceiling, and then we care about if he's going to be contrarian or not. And then on top of that, the price is great. So look, I do love Julio, Mike Thomas, Hopkins, Kupp. I like Amari Cooper. Those guys are all more expensive. These are, obvious picks. If you can afford any one of those guys, put him in. But Tyreek Hill, 6,900 going against the Texans. It's Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball. He's going to really want Tyreek Hill back. And Sammy Watkins is doubtful. He won't play week 6. I had to go back and find this one, and I found a gem that we would not expect. Now, if the wins aren't too bad in this game, I like Tyler Lockett a lot. Even if there is win, as long as it's not super extreme, priced at 6,400, he's going to be overlooked because of the other guys I have on this list. There are some really elite players that are priced about 500 to 1,000 more than Tyler Lockett, and there's some great value picks that are about $1,000 cheaper than Tyler Lockett. He will be overlooked, and it's kind of crazy because everyone knows who he is. He's been scoring well, and I feel good now because I've been saying everyone's chalk, and we're getting into some good contrarian picks here. With wide receiver, Stefon Diggs, another contrarian pick at a good price. Super risky, but is this guy talented? Yes. Is he going against a defense that allows points in the pass game? Yes. So another risky pick, contrarian pick. I do like Stefon Diggs. Adam Thielen has a way better matchup, way higher floor. We have way more trust in Adam Thielen, but he's priced about 800 more than Stefon Diggs. We get Diggs for cheaper and be more contrarian. Let's see what he can do. I'm giving Diggs one more shot, and I have a gut feeling Diggs is going to have a good game. We have Calvin Ridley, super cheap, priced at 5,700. If he can get some targets, man, is he going to score against the Cardinals? Christian Kirk, priced at 5,200. Wow, this is so cheap. And we do have Fitzgerald, look, priced at 6,100. He's safer, but Christian Kirk, 900 cheaper than Fitzgerald. He has that questionable mark, so people will be scared to draft him. I fully expect him to play, and it seems like he'll be at 100% or close to it. That's probably more realistic. It seems like no one's at 100% right now, and we're at week 6. But man, going against the Falcons, crazy things can happen. Wouldn't you say, going up against the Falcons, that this could very well be Christian Kirk's best game so far? Could it be the best game of this entire season? Very likely. And another super cheap play, like super cheap, just great value, is Gallup. Where is he at? Priced at 5,600. I skipped him. Priced at 5,600. Michael Gallup, man, has he really been a great target for Dak Prescott? He's truly the number 2 option in that pass game, and not too far behind from Amari Cooper. It's kind of being like 1A Cooper and 1B Michael Gallup. Like, he's been really good, and if teams decide to focus on Amari Cooper, whether he gets double covered or he gets the best cornerback, got Michael Gallup with a better matchup going against a weaker cornerback. Really like him at his price point at 5,600 going against the Jets. And for some cheap plays, after doing some contrarian ownership projection research, I noticed that a lot of people will go with Preston Williams, and that's the Dolphins wide receiver that I like, priced at 4,100 going against Washington. Terrible pass coverage. And if you do want to be a contrarian for GPPs, just spend 100 more and go with Devontae Parker. So let's say if I'm entering several lineups, I could go, 2 with Preston Williams and another 2 with Devontae Parker, and I could really just switch them like that because I can probably fit either one since they're priced almost identical, only 100 apart in salary. And if Hollywood Brown doesn't play, a sneaky start could be Miles Boykin at 3,500. And Hollywood Brown has played every single game, I believe, of this year. And so let's see what Miles Boykin can do if Hollywood Brown is up. Snaps should go up. Targets should go up. This guy's had a lot of hype in the preseason. He's very talented. Let's see what he can do. He's got a good matchup against the Bungles. And just really quick, I did want to have some nice punts for you guys, but that's really the only ones I can trust. But I do want to go over some more minimum priced and punt players. Kiki QT is okay if Kenny Stills is out. It is going to be a shootout, and it's tough to predict who's going to score in that Texans and Chiefs game. We do know a lot of players are going to score. There's going to be a lot of touchdowns. There's going to be a lot of scoring. Just hard to know which players are going to be the ones scoring the touchdowns. Pringle, very good start. if Tyreek Hill is out, Sammy Watkins is out, I need both of them to be out for me to have any confidence in Brian Pringle. Not saying that he can't do well if Tyreek Hill plays. It just, I don't know, man. You got Mecole Hardman, you got Demarcus Robinson. Will Pringle take over the Hardman role? I don't know. It's tough. You might go with the flow of the game. Like I just said, this is the same game we're talking about. It's going to be tough to predict who's going to score. Nonetheless, if Tyreek Hill is out, I do like Brian Pringle, priced at only $3,500. And then we have Kendrick Bourne. I was really trying to find a minimum price player. And this one, I don't have any confidence in really. But let's say if you really needed to squeeze in a minimum price wide receiver, it's going to be Kendrick Bourne. I feel like he'll be the number 3 wide receiver on the 49ers. I think Pettis will have a bad matchup against the Rams. And then you have Deebo Samuel, who is by far the best wide receiver on the 49ers. And I think Kendrick Bourne might be able to do one thing. I guess if he scores a touchdown, gets you like 11 or 12 fantasy points, that's going to be great for a minimum priced wide receiver. Like I said, not a lot of confidence in him. Don't really have a lot of confidence in any 49ers wide receiver. I'm sure one of them will do okay, but that's like the upside. One wide receiver will do okay. That's the upside for the 49ers. And watch them all ball out. Like, I get it. It's just hard to know which one and if they'll do good. And that's kind of why Kyle Shanahan's offense is so good. And then we have, of course, Kittle and both running backs, Breida and Coleman, being amazing and being heavily involved in the pass game. The touchdowns are going to likely go to the running backs and Kittle. That's why Niner wide receivers is a bit of a crapshoot, one with not too much upside. We talked about a lot of wide receivers. Hopefully that was helpful. Kelsey, 7,000, super expensive. I feel like this week he is worth having in some lineups. He's going to be worth the price. Maybe people have gave up on him. I think this is the game where he goes off. He's been okay so far this year, but in season long, people that drafted him as a top 15 pick got to be disappointed. He was drafted around like number 18 or 19 roughly. That's where he went on average. Sometimes was drafted a late first round in some leagues. And man, he's been getting his targets, just hasn't really beasted. Only had that one great game against the Raiders. Let's see what he can do. I feel like he has a really good floor, really good ceiling. It's just the price sucks, but not too many tight ends to pick from. Ertz is good. I really like Kittle for the upside. You can't expect a bad game for him. So the floor is kind of low, but the ceiling is just as high, and I would say it's the second highest right below Kelsey, the ceiling. So ceiling is extremely high. Floor is kind of low though, and that's not going to bode well for the price. But hey, we're going for upside. Ertz is just okay. Like, he might return value, decent floor. Upside is okay. So I'm not, going all in on Ertz this week. Hooper's got a good matchup. Don't really know who's going to score in that game either. I go more towards Julio. And, okay, Disley's good. My favorite tight end is going to be Mark Andrews. With Hollywood Brown being banged up, I don't even expect him to play. This guy's just been the receiver for Lamar Jackson. Even if he's not playing every snap, when he's playing, he's just the go-to guy. He gets touchdowns, he gets targets, he gets catches, he's got great hands, and the price is, again, it's amazing. Like, I don't get why the price is so cheap. For a tight end, he's been absolutely balling. And so $4,800 going against the Bungles. I think he'll get a lot of targets. This is a game where he can get 9, 10, 11 targets and could get 2 or 3 touchdowns. I really do see that happening. If Mark Ingram doesn't get 3 or 4 touchdowns, Mark Andrews is next in line to get those TDs. Just some quick news. Both Vernon Davis and Jordan Reed are out. Here is a sleeper, and I went back and I found this one right here. Trust factor, not 0, but pretty low. So the floor is pretty low, but the ceiling is decent, and the price is great. So if you're looking for a cheap tight end, it's going to be Delaney Walker. He's actually projected to be a top 10 tight end, I think, this week. So he'll be good. It's just there's better options. But as far as making a contrarian pick, I think this is the one. We know a tight end who's had a great career. He's Mariota's guy. And look, he hasn't been the last 2 weeks, but out of his whole career, he was Mariota's guy. And week 1, week 2, week 3, Mariota's guy as well. So it's only been 2 weeks. He's not been the go-to guy for Mariota. I think he'll resume that role, or at least to some extent. So recency bias, he's had 2 really bad games, putting up 1 fantasy point, then 2 fantasy points. He won't be owned in a lot of lineups, only 3,700, super cheap. Matchup is okay. I think Walker could hold his own, even though it's against the Broncos, he'll be just fine. Then we have Gerald Everett, who's kind of the opposite of Walker. In just about every asset. You know, his quarterback is, Jared Goff compared to Mariota. Gerald Everett, much younger. Now, he's a sexy name here, man. A lot of hype, a lot of people talking about him, a lot of people adding him in season long. Price is amazing, 3,600. And the matchup's not that bad. I don't think the Niners will be able to cover everybody. So maybe a Cooper Kupp, maybe a Gerald Everett will get open, will score some touchdowns. Let's see what happens. I do see him being involved. And look at the last 2 weeks. 8 targets week 4, 11 targets week 5. I do like him, but like I'm saying, Delaney Walker, $100 more expensive as far as salary price goes, and he'll be more contrarian. And I did have some other contrarian picks. I just did want to throw out trust factor is basically at a 0, and that is Hayden Hurst. Where are you at? Priced at... Okay, I found him. 3,200. Hayden Hurst, if Hollywood Brown is out, Hayden Hurst gets a lot of snaps. He's been seeing some targets. He's going to need to score a touchdown for you. But if the Bengals defense focuses on trying to stop Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst could be wide open for a touchdown. That's wishful thinking, though. And then we have a Jeff Swaim priced at 2,900. The Jaguars are thin at tight end, and Jeff Swain by default becomes the main pass catching tight end there. At least I think so. We'll see who's catching passes, but we expect it to be Jeff Swain, priced at 2,900. Nothing more than a cheap punt. I think Goddard deserves more playing time, and just really a dart though. Like, look at his numbers. He's not really involved in the pass game, and he's an excellent blocker, and I really think he'll be Ertz's successor, but not this year. Yeah, just really nothing more than a dart / punt. For defenses, let's go from the cheapest. We have the Jets D, and not one that I'm going to vouch for anything like that, but I did want to mention that their price is almost like a glitch, priced at 1,500. Going against the Cowboys, it is a terrible matchup, but as far as them being a bottom 5 defense, I don't think they'll score the least amount of fantasy points out of these defenses. Like, even the Texans, I feel, is worse. Cardinals D is worse. Bengals D, I feel, is worse. And so the Jets D, priced at 1,500, would be worth considering, not saying to pick them, considering if both tackles are out for the Cowboys. Both Tyron Smith, the left tackle, and La'el Collins, the right tackle, are questionable and might not play. If I had to guess, I'd say one would be out. One of the two would be out, but maybe both are out. And that's going to even affect the run game. Jets D, they do have some talent, some upside. Nonetheless, it's nothing more than a punt. One that I might actually pick, though, is a 1,500. I'll be able to squeeze in another elite player. That's the difference from a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 1, for example, or an RB2 and an RB1. 3,000. That's a lot of savings. Broncos at 3,100. Not one I'm really trusting going against the tight ends. Washington's defense going against Miami, priced at 3,200. Seahawks D, if the wins do pick up and are extreme wins, I do like the Seahawks defense at 3,400. Won't be too much high scoring in that game. A defense that I do trust, and probably my favorite defense, and it is my hands down my favorite defense this week, is the Ravens going against the Bengals. that should be able to dominate this game. You really don't need me to break this down. Price is expensive, but going to be well worth it. The trust factor is there, and the ceiling is there. And I did want to also just mention the Cowboys D. Pretty good defense, pretty good matchup. Price is very expensive, so if you're looking at a contrarian pick for defense, I think it's going to be the Cowboys, because why would you pick the Cowboys over the Ravens? I don't think too many people would. It's just cheaper and a better defense, and that's why Cowboys D will be contrarian. Make sure you guys do check out monkeyknifefight.com. Just follow the link below in the description. All information is there. If you haven't deposited, make sure you use promo code COUCH to deposit to be able to play in that fantasy couch challenge for this week. You're going to have to follow that link or use the promo code, otherwise you won't be registered. So guys, head on over there, play. Hopefully you guys win this week. I wish you guys good luck. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also subscribe to our second YouTube channel, Fantasy Couch Podcast. Lots of great content and live streams on there as well. Like this video if you enjoyed it, dislike if you didn't, and I'll catch you on MKF this week.